Hello, I'm Shieldwall100 and welcome back to Gotham for a Batman Miniatures Game 3rd Edition game report. It suddenly recurred to me that out of all the games that I've covered so far, I've never actually done a game report between the Batman crew and the Joker crew. Possibly the two most common crews in the entire game, and the two originals for the 3rd edition, so here we are. I have done the Bat Family versus Joker, but that's a team rather than the actual Batman crew and has some important differences, so there'll be some police on this time, and yeah, we'll see how the two main crews actually fight against each other with their objective decks. It'll be quite nice for me to not have to think about the two faces of the coin, or all sorts of, or how many veterans I've got on the board, etc, etc. Just these two objective decks I'm nice and familiar with, so hopefully a low stress kind of encounter today for me. No prey markers or anything like that. So please check the description below for a discount code for the Top Hatted Hamster web store. It's on there as always, okay, for your first or next purchase. Yes, I think that covers it. I shall get on with looking at the crew makeup now. Okay, let's start with Joker. It's a relatively small Joker crew, only 7 models. You can go big style. I mean, since the days of the 1st edition, the Joker Swarm was a viable list option, but for purposes of making an intriguing battle report, you tend to have to keep it shorter, and that means less model activation, so I'm going with a little bit smaller one, but it's about average size, I'd say, for most crews. 7 models is still pretty respectable. But as you can see, we're going with the Back to Gotham Joker because he's the nicest one, and in terms of model, in my opinion, I love his big base. And I'm getting used to his abilities, so hopefully more familiarity makes for better game reporting. As you can see, his psychic on the far right there is Gaggy, not Harley Quinn. I'm just taking Harley Quinn so often these times. She fits in with so many crews, and she's a useful model that I'm used to. So Gaggy again, I like his poison gas, and it does tie in quite nicely with a lot of other things the Joker gang does. In terms of the free agent, you can see we've got Scarecrow in his Terror in Gotham box incarnation. Sorry, words failed me for a second there. Apparently this guy is a little bit broken because of some interesting translation issues with his Inspire Feral. I'll come to that, if it happens, but yes, it looks like you automatically get Terror 2 every time you use it, which knocks off 2 actions off your opponents when they're affected by it, even if the gas doesn't affect them, which just seems a bit broken to me. But hey, if I know about it in advance, maybe Batman will be able to do something about it. But yeah, he's a great model, and I've only used him once before in the games, so I really want to show him off again. Scarecrow's one of my favourite characters, so he's in today, and he's worked with Joker before, so there's comic book canon precedent for this. If you want to see it at least once, there's not the Nightfall arc where they act together quite a lot. In terms of henchmen, you can see Killer Moth standing at the back there in his very bright costume. I just think he fits in nicely with Joker, and he's a useful enough henchman for general purposes. So yeah, adds that extra bit of mobility to the crew and has a radio. So just a generally handy sort of chap to have along. For Joker henchman, you can see Whiteface there at the in the forefront there in the foreground. He's just a generic useful henchman to have. I quite like him, and Cruel is a handy trait to have. It's kind of like you get to play the police at their own game, because they arrest people, and Cruel can take people out in much the same way. Stan the eyeball man there, just one in from the right next to Gaggy. He's a useful bit of firepower with his assault weapon. He's got an extra magazine from purchasable war gear, and as you can see, Ace of Spades with his gas emitting powers there and his gas grenades. He's a useful chap to have for cards as well, and enervating stroke poison on your opponents is, I like it. It's a good Joker themed way to go. In other purchasable war gear, you can see Gaggy has his enhanced gas to really up the enervating stakes when he lands next to people. That concludes the Joker gang. Let's move on to the Batman crew, so we'll see what they're packing. and here are the defenders of Gotham for today. We're going with the Back to Gotham version of Batman to match his Joker crew counterpart. I really like this version. He's not quite so hideously disruptive and destructive as the big one I use, against, for example, Soldiers of Fortune, etc. But this guy certainly gets the job done and makes for better gaming, if you ask me, because the other one's just a little bit too all or nothing for me. I like this version of Batman much more. I do have others, incidentally. Of course, I've got others. I've been playing this game for a while, but yeah, this is the one I'm going with for today. As you can see, Red Robin is taking the spotlight as the free agent for today, because he's a new model and I want to use the new model. I want to see what he can do. He's got some really interesting looking abilities. What else have we got here? Oh yeah, Harvey Bullock makes a return. Good solid henchman choice, and as you can see next to him, the GCPD detective. These are two fairly good staples of my gangs, before, and I know what they do. They're pretty useful. Harvey Bullock's very useful for playing the suspect marker game. In the foreground you can see Agent 3 from the Dark Knight Rises box set. He's just a good, handy, generic sort of policeman. So yeah, there you go. He's in, and he's got a radio as extra equipment, so he can actually play some suspect markers, even if he doesn't have audacity counters. And Lorida there, he's taking up the majority of the team's extra pieces of war gear funding. So he's got his SWAT training, he's got a radio as well, and all sorts of other bits and pieces which I'll come into. No grapple gun purchase for this crew. We're just going to be going with the ordinary ones on Batman and Red Robin there. But yeah, I'll come when I get to the other war gear. I'll if it comes up, I will obviously make you aware of its presence then. But yeah, you've got the basics down. All right, okay, let's get on and deploy some models, find out who's going where. Okay, deployment finished, and for this particular battle report we're going with Showdown for the actual zones. As you can see, nice easy 8-inch deployment zone, 2 ends of the board. Batman won the initiative role for deployment, so he chose this board edge, leaving the Joker to go, obviously, on this board edge here. Yeah, so starting with the Batman crew, you can see the big guy himself. He's imposing on top of the crate there, and we've got Harvey Bullock, who used the hidden rule to infiltrate up the pitch behind the crane. He has to be out of line of sight. Likewise, also with the hidden rule, we have the GCPD detective. I don't know if you can see him in the shadows there. Let the light adjust. Yep, he's there too. So a bit of a left flanking maneuver there from the GCPD. You can see Red Robin and the SWAT officer, Lorida, are in the middle. Well, more so in the middle, okay? And finally, at the back over there, you've got Agent 3 taking up the right flank, okay? And for the Joker's crew, let's see. You got Joker himself more or less centrally placed with 3 of his henchmen nearby, so he can easily inspire them. They'll be advancing up in the shadow of the crane, I expect. You've got Gaggy there on the other side of the fence, ready to pogo stick around. He's in a good central position, so he can react to pretty much any threat on the board. Scarecrow has the undercover rule, so he infiltrated a bit further up the board, up to 16 inches on this case. It gives him an extra 8 inches. He could only just about get on this side of the fence, so he couldn't jump. He couldn't be deployed across it. He needs to get as close as possible to start using his fear gas, of course. But yeah, he'll have to take impaired movement to go through the broken part of the fence there. And finally, Killer Moth, you can see, is on top of the tower there. Okay, that takes up setup for us. Okay, let's move on to turn 1 and get this shindig started. Right, the first 2 phases for turn 1 are now complete, and let's see. No cards were played from the hands of either crew for the first phase, or second phases for that matter. So no early doors objective cards out on the board. In terms of who got the first turn, you can see that the Batman crew got it there with a 6-3 in their favour. Them being in black, of course. And yeah, so let's get on with who got audacity. So on the Batman crew, you can see the man himself got one. Harvey Bullock got a point of audacity, and the remaining 2 were given to Red Robin and Lorida there. Okay, on the Joker's crew is a little bit simpler, just the Scarecrow and Gaggy there. The other members of the crew being able to use them as wild cards, so they can distribute those last 2 tokens out as needed across the course of the turn. Right, let's get on with some activations. A fairly cautious start kicked things off, and Agent 3 went first, as we know, for Batman. He just edged forward out of his deployment zone in order to put down this suspect marker here, which he converted into a snitch, which is a staple card we've seen many times. 3 points, scores at the end of the turn if there's no enemies within 4 inches of this snitch marker. The reason he didn't move his full extension 8 inches forwards, he just snuck out far enough to be 2 inches outside his deployment zone, which enables him to put down the suspect marker. Didn't want to get too close to any of the Joker's crew, some of whom can get on some surprising turns of speed, in order to give him the best chance. And he didn't want to move into line of sight with that light source just there. Okay, let's see what Joker's got up his sleeve. And the Joker crew's first activation was Whiteface, moving out from his position next to that lamppost and down to the into the shadow of the crane. He put down a suspect marker, and both crews taking out their party piece cards, as it doesn't look fresh, came out to turn that suspect marker into a stinky fish. And much like Snitch, it will last until the end of the turn and score. If it's still there, hasn't been picked up, it'll be worth 2 victory points, not 3. Controversial, I suppose. But anyone who does pick it up gets poisoned for their trouble. So there you go. And yeah, that's their turn. We'll see if it teases out any of the justice makers in terms of whether they be brought out to get rid of that card and deny the points. Okay, let's move on. The Batman crew opted to pass. They have 2 passes for this game. So what happened next was Joker activated again. Ace of Spades jumped over from behind that BSAA crate and put down a suspect marker, as you can see there. Didn't score any cards. He put down the suspect marker because he was inspired by the presence of Joker just behind him. So still haven't used that audacity token that the Batman crew is trying to get them to tease out, so as they don't have so much to react with later on in the turn, but not yet. And like I said, no cards scored yet. Okay. Yeah, the Batman crew certainly decided to activate that this time, and Harvey Bullock decided to step out of the shadows from where he was hiding, and yes, he had a pretty full turn, as you can see from the array of counters that are down. First of all, he moved out. Don't forget, he had audacity, so he moved to here. He has the detective trait, so he's able to reveal and place suspect markers up to 3 inches away, and he revealed the stinky fish, which I shall now remove from the board. In doing so, remember, he gets poisoned, so there's the marker. He will be poisoned for the remainder of the game. Harvey Bullock's evidence tampering rule allowed him to put down this suspect marker in contact with the stinky fish before doing so, as he obviously fudges the evidence a little bit to fit what he needs. So yes, a nice early suspect marker lead for the Batman crew. Whether that will help them or not, I don't know. But by revealing that the stinky fish, he played Wrong Place Kid, which is his own actual his own actual named card for him, but you can only have it in your deck if he's there, and it's a good one. Reveal enemy suspect marker at least 6 inches away from any of your models with the cop trait, with the exception of the model revealing the marker itself. So yes, he is a cop, but nonetheless doesn't count if he does it. And yeah, there's no other cops anywhere within 6 inches. Good card to get out of the way nice and early whilst everyone's still a little bit further apart. And yeah, so 3 lovely points in the bag. Unfortunately for the forces of good, shall we say, the Joker crew was able to react to that by playing So Long It's Been a Gas. So bear with me a second. For 2 points, as you can see, 2 points just up there. Lots of text, but basically we'll just concentrate on that first paragraph. When an enemy model reveals one of your suspect markers, which Harvey Bullock just did, the opponent must choose one of their models, place an enemy suspect marker in contact with that model. So we did that in contact with Larido over there, as you can see. Yes, but so they score that by when the opponent picked up their suspect marker for 2 points. This is a bonus. It does that. Well, it basically means that the rider puts down a suspect marker, but the chosen model in both cases suffers the Enervating 2 effect. So the rider, as you can see, has Enervating 2, which will affect the next time he has the chance to make efforts. Harvey Bullock's poisoned. There's been the stinky fish is not on the board anymore, but there's an extra couple of suspect markers for the Batman crew. Will it do them any good in the long run? I do not know. But yes, nice busy turn for Harvey Bullock there, but 3 points for the Batman crew, 2 points for Joker. Okay, Stan the Eyeball Man activated next for Joker. He took one of the 2 Audacity tokens which were left over, so there's 1 left for the Joker's crew this turn. And he decided he'd move out into the middle of the middle of the area underneath the crane, is what I was going to say. And yes, he was inspired by Joker. So first of all, he put down a suspect marker, which, as we can see, turned into another stinky fish with a second "it doesn't look fresh" card that come out this turn. So we've seen that just a minute ago. So yes, there's another one. He's also in base contact with the existing Batman suspect marker over there, because it might mean he gets to pick it up easier next turn, you know, rather than to move over to it. But yes, he still had his normal tactical action left, so he used it to open fire on Sergeant Harvey Bullock, who was nicely in the open. And as you can see, it did 4 points of damage. 4 hits got through altogether, each doing 1 point of blood each, because it's this is more of a barrage hail of fire sort of weapon rather than a few very powerful shots kind of weapon. It's it's just the way it is. And yeah, so but Harvey's got 6 endurance altogether, so he's taken 4 damage, so 2 more and he will be out of action for the purposes of the game. But yes, first blood to the Joker, shall we say. But yeah, both sides still scoring their cards. Right, Lowrider activated next, and as a SWAT officer he moved forwards from, well, he was next to this suspect marker. Now he's moved forward, and he's inspired by Batman by dint of the fact that he has a radio, so he took the opportunity to put down another suspect marker for fun. And he drew a bead on Scarecrow with his custom submachine gun over here, and he opened fire. He lost the strength die due to the fact that I'm counting the fence as cover, but it's an assault weapon, and so he only takes -1 to hit, which he mitigates from his expert marksman ability. So he's basically hitting on 4s with 3 dice, re-rolling 1, and in the end 2 of those hits got through for 2 points of blood each, or they would have been 2 points of blood each if non-lethal ammo hadn't been played from the hands as an objective. For 2 points, it basically converts the blood damage to the stun damage. Yes, and so it's kind of a penalty in some respects, but not in others. So yes, it does score the 2 points though, and it is about points at the end of the day. I'm sure you'll all agree. If he'd actually got 3 hits out of 3, that would have done 6 points of blood damage, which he probably would have kept instead of scoring, because that would have been enough to off Scarecrow altogether. And you want to get rid of this version, this Scarecrow, much, as quickly as you possibly can. But nonetheless, he got 4 points of damage, I'm saying, so he decided to the chance to actually turn him into stun damage. It'll mean that other models can knock him out easier as well, because there's not a massive amount of blood damage in the rest of this Batman crew. So yeah, stun damage though, lots easier to come by. Right, let's move on. Joker decided to go next, and yes, he took the last Audacity token, as is his right as boss of the crew, and decided he'd move up. He moved into base contact with the suspect marker that Ace of Spades put down earlier in the turn, and he revealed it using his tactical action, and by doing so he played Let Them Do Their Thing, which is a lot of text, reveal a friendly suspect marker, and basically turns into an explosive template which moved 2d6 inches, which was 10 inches in a direction. He wanted it to go towards Lowrider in the hopes he'd get a high score, which he did, and as you can see, here's where the template ended up, and it did cover Lowrider there nicely, causing Lowrider 2 points of stun damage, because it's a set of exploding teeth, I assume. And yes, if anything was damaged by this action, then that gets 2 victory points, which it does. So 2 victory points for the Joker crew. Lovely jubbly. And yeah, so there you go. And his final thing that he did was to use his special action to motivate Whiteface there. I don't know if I can just get the angle. Come on, camera. Give him two attack counters, basically, that you can see next to his base. I'll put them on his character card in a second, and basically next time he attacks he gets 2 bonus dice for it in close combat. Okay, right, so that concludes Joker's activation. GCPD detective, who was on the boat, activated, didn't have Audacity, doesn't have a radio either, so very limited in what he can do, just the one action he can take. He used his movement action just to climb aboard the shore, and climb back on board the shore, shall we say, and yes, he's hiding behind the crane. He's seen what's happened to Sergeant Bullock, and he's really not, liking the look of that, so he's deciding to keep out of sight for the time being, but he's there for next turn should the situation require it. Joker's crew activated Killer Moth next, and I wanted to give him audacity before, but I forgot that I'd used both of the counters up, so I'm smart like that, aren't I? He has, however, his wings count as a bat cape for the purposes of flying and stuff, so he was able just to float down from the top of the tower here without taking any damage. It basically kind of, as long as he's going downhill, it allows him to move pretty much as the crow flies, which is what he did. And yeah, so he jumped down here, and he has a radio, so he's always inspired by Joker, which allowed him to put down that suspect marker just there. If I'd been able to give him audacity, he'd used his bat claw, which is, I guess, again, his representative of his wings. I think he'd have been in range to interfere with this snitch marker, get within 4 inches of it, but you know, as it wasn't to be. So there we go. Yeah, so he'll have to, you know, he's still got it for next turn, so that's the important thing. And yes, he put down this suspect marker. Batman decided that the time for being cagey and indirect was through, and he just went straight into the middle of Joker's crew there. He sees that Officer Bullock's in a bit of trouble, so yeah, give him something else to think about. And yeah, so he did. He got into combat with Whiteface by engaging his bat claw from all the way back here, so he won't be able to use it again next turn, but probably won't have to. He's nice and central now. And basically it counts as a sneak attack because Whiteface couldn't see Batman at the beginning of his activation, so Whiteface wasn't allowed to put any effort in. Batman decided not to put any in at all because he didn't think he'd need it, and yes, he managed to get 6 points. 3 hits got through. Whiteface actually rolled very well on his defense rolls. He only had 2 dice, but they both came up 6s to block 2 of the incoming bat fists, but was not to be. Enough hits got through, and with reinforced gloves doubled it up to 6 points of stun damage, more than enough to knock out the clown. Okay, didn't score any cards, but does take a member of Joker's crew out for the purposes of, well, you know, the next turn perhaps. We'll see when it comes to recovery phase. But yes, let's carry on the activations now. I did forget to say, as part of that last activation, when Batman did take out Whiteface, Joker did have something to say to that, because Your Expendable was in his hand. There's only one of these cards in there, but it does come up surprisingly often, which is a reaction to Batman taking out Whiteface. A friendly model with a Chick's trait is removed as a casualty or becomes KO'd. When this happens, both players discard a card from their hand at random. Yeah, but yeah, so 1 point for the Joker's crew because Batman knocked one of their models out. I guess Joker's having a good laugh at it. Okay, Joker's turn continued on with Gaggy activating his sidekick. Gaggy had audacity from the beginning of the turn, if you recall, so he used it. He used his special action and his movement action together to use his pogo stick to jump all the way over from over there into this scrum over here. When he lands, he emits a burst of the Joker gas, which does poison 2. Poison 1 and innovating 2 to everyone within a certain radius. It caught Batman, Bullock, and unfortunately Whiteface, who was too unconscious to realise to hold his breath. Silly him, but Joker doesn't care. And that automatically afflicts them with poison. Harvey goes up to poison 2 from 1 because he was already poisoned from before, handling the stinky fish. And finally, with his tactical action, Gaggy attacked Batman. He put maximum effort in. As you can see, Batman's innovating 2 just tipped him into not putting any effort into trying to block, and in the end, after a pretty lousy defense roll from Batman, 2 points of blood were done from 2 scoring hits from the giant punching fist on the bottom of the pogo stick. So yes, 2 points of blood on Batman. He's got endurance 9, so he's here for a little while yet, I'm sure, but nonetheless it all helps to chip him away, may cause him to just hold back a little bit in the future turn. We just don't know yet. Okay, right, so let's carry on with the turn. To cap off the activations for the Batman crew this turn, Red Robin went, and he moved forwards normally, but actually before he did that, he was actually by that audacity marker. He used his hacking ability with his audacity to move this suspect marker back to the board edge, okay, and then he used his normal movement to run forwards, and he threw one of his electric boluses at Gaggy. He did manage to cause 1 hit, that's 1 point of stun there, but more importantly did movement -6, so what's that, slow 6, sorry. So the next time Gaggy wants to move, he's at -6 inches movement. That will last until it's used up. So quite useful, just tangling the little clowns pogo stick up a bit there. Might be very useful. Gaggy is usually a very mobile model. So yeah, that concludes the Batman Crew's activations. Just run down the clock for Joker now. And taking the last activation for the turn, quite surprisingly actually, the Scarecrow went next, and yes, he had to use impaired movement to get over the fence, and just put him within 4 inches of Larida there. He used his special action. He did have Audacity, if you recall, so he had his movement. He then used his special action to inspire fear. He can usually emit it as a bubble, which affects everyone within 4 inches of the line of sight, but there just aren't that many Batman models around and in line of sight, so it had to suffice to just affecting Larida there. He put some effort in to reduce the number of dice that Larida would have to choose from with the willpower test, and unfortunately, nonetheless, Larida managed to successfully ignore the effects. He didn't actually suffer anything at all. Now, rulers written, Larida actually suffers Terror 2, which I will mark on his board thing when I get one. Here we go. I'll just pop the counter down there, because according to the letter of the rule, it uses Terror 2 when he uses it. I don't actually know if that's a just a slight wording malfunction or not, but yeah, that's what it says, and that's how people seem to play it when they discuss it on the Discord. So yeah, that's what we'll go with. It's Terror 2. That means next time that Larida has a turn, he has 2 less actions than he'd normally get, which just sucks for him, even though he passed his willpower check. I personally suspect they meant that they increased the penalty for failing his Inspire Fear to Terror 2 instead of Terror 1, which is one of the results you can get, but not up to me. And yeah, it says it causes Terror 2, so it causes Terror 2. There we go. Maybe I'm wrong. I mean, it could just be really powerful. He is, after all, the Master of Fear, so it's if they put that in there for thematic reasons, I am all down with that, because I love Scarecrow anyway. Okay, let's carry on. I do believe that completes the turn's activations. Everyone's had a go now, so I'm going to move to the recount phase and do some tidying up and tell you who scores what. Okay, recount phase is now complete, and I can report a few things. First of all, white face. Let's see if I can actually find an angle to get him, so I know I have to come around here. Whiteface, the guy who Batman just punched into the ground, is still in the ground, as you'd try to stay, I expect, if he was towering over you, but he didn't pass his test to come back from knocked out, so yeah, he is out for the count for the next turn. Not surprisingly, really. In terms of poison rolls, both Batman and Harvey Bullock managed to pass their checks to see if they succumbed to poison, so took no damage at the end of the turn. Harvey was quite lucky, being on poison 2 and all. He needed 4 or less, but got there in the end. But Whiteface again failed his test and took a point of blood damage. He's too unconscious to will it out of his system, I guess. Bit of a shame, but hey, that's what it's an occupational hazard when you work for Joker, I'm guessing. In terms of cards scored, it's easy enough to see that the Stinky Fish next to Eyeball Man is still on the board, so it doesn't look fresh. Definitely scores for the Joker's crew. And for the Batman crew, Snitch is still very much here, so that will get turned into an ordinary suspect marker in just a second, but 3 points is scored for the Batman crew. It's not the fact that it needs to be who's still on the board. It can't actually be picked up, but there's no enemy models within 4 inches of it. That's the important thing. So yeah, that's a good one for them. And coming out of the hand for the Batman crew, stick to the plan. 2 points. You have more suspect markers than your opponent in play, and the Batman crew has 4 suspect markers, counting the Snitch, to the Joker's 3. So there you go, nice and simple. All those hijinks by Harvey Bullock and Joker exploding his own suspect markers really did come into play in the end to mean that this 2 points comes about for the Batman crew. But yeah, that's how it is. I mean, exploding your own suspect markers is fun, so why wouldn't you do it? Okay, let's move on. I'm trying to think of anything else. Each model that had any stun damage takes 1 point of that off, and yeah, we'll be moving into the second turn. Both crews are now pretty embroiled with each other, and much closer all the way across the board. So I'm looking forward to seeing the carnage ramp up a bit, or the hijinks for scoring. Okay, right, moving on to turn number 2. Okay, into turn 2, and the first 2 phases are both complete. In terms of cards played from the hand, Showtime was played by Joker. Lots and lots of text here, but we have seen it before. Basically, 2 of the suspect markers from the Batman crew got sucked into base contact with Joker. He actually rolled 4, but only 2 were in range of the 18 inches, so 2 it is. Basically, he rolled a 4 after all was said and done, which means that's the countdown as well. So after 4 models activations, if both of these suspect markers are still in contact with the Joker on the board, then that will score this card for 3 points. Nice and simple, really, when you get down to it. It's just that there's a lot of text on there to sort of clear, to make it, kind of clear, semi-clear, I guess. Right, moving on. That was the only card played, but in terms of the initiative, you can see that Batman has the initiative again with a 5-3 win there, so he'll be going first. In terms of what else would have happened, oh yes, the audacity counters in the Raise the Plan phase. So on the Batman side, we got the Rider's got one, Red Robin's got a audacity token, Batman himself, you can see around there, and there's one in the corner there for the GCPD detective. On the Joker's crew side, it's Scarecrow and Gaggy, the remaining 2 still being able to be put down as wild cards, thanks to the Joker's Chaos Agent rule. Batman attempted to use his world's greatest detective ability. As you can see over there, he tried to make it so that Killer Moth had to activate first on the Joker crew side, but was not to be. He took, even with the effort that Batman took, as you can see the stun damage over when I showed you over there, it was not enough. Killer Moth passed his willpower test, and so Joker crew can activate in whatever order they want. And finally, Joker actually managed to use his scheming ability just to move the Stinky Fish counter around to there you go, just over there. You saw that was my full extension. I really should be more smart where I put things. Okay, so yeah, he's just moved one of the old suspect markers out of the way. Okay, right, so let's carry on and get activating for turn number 2. The Rider seized the initiative and decided he'd be going first. He has pressing concerns in that the Scarecrow was bearing down upon him. He was still suffering from Terror 2, so despite the fact that he had Audacity, he only had 1 activation normally anyway. So what he did was to use that 1 action as a tactical action to open fire on Scarecrow, using the one of his 3 rounds that he's got. Don't forget I gave him a piece of war gear that gave him extra round, and yes, he opened fire on Scarecrow and hit a lot. He has precise aim. He wasn't moving beforehand, so no to hit penalty for that with his assault weapon. So 3 hits, doing 2 blood damage each. That kills Scarecrow, makes him a casualty. Ouch. So there we go. Scarecrow down again. Not doing so. I don't think I've quite got the use out of Scarecrow yet in my games. Difficult. He's got short range stability, but it's so powerful. It's very tempting, and he pays the price for it sometimes. Oh well, never mind. Well, put that down to experience. And yes, good round of shooting there for the Rider. As you can see, he's next to a snitch marker. That's because he has a radio, and so he was able to be inspired by Batman and thus get an extra manipulate action out there, and he put down the snitch, as was played from the hand. So 3 points there, just as we saw before. 4 inches away, if there were no enemies within 4 inches of that marker, then by the end of the turn that will score the snitch. We'll see. Lots of turn to go though. Okay, right, let's carry on. That was a bit of a hammer blow to the Joker's crew. Continuing the theme so far this turn of guys with guns activating first, Eyeball Man went for the Joker crew, and yes, he decided first of all he would train his weapon on Batman. He didn't take on Audacity counter incidentally for the turn, just to make that clear, and yes, he opens fire. His carbine didn't get the strength die, but it still had its 5 other shots, sorry may I say, and with his +1 to hit for his OCD, that meant he was hitting on 4s instead of 5s, and the Batman took a bit of a pummeling. He took 4 points of blood damage as 4 of those 5 hits, 5 of those dice resulted in hits. So yeah, that puts Batman onto 6 endurance damage out of his 8. So yeah, the damage started to stack up for the Dark Knight, but he's still a tough cookie. We'll see how it bears out over the course of the game, but yes, he might now have to think about things instead. But yes, Eyeball Man was still inspired, and so was able to put down that suspect marker you can see next to him there, which in turn allowed him to play Let Them In on the Joke from the Joker crew's hand. Nice and simple. 2 points. Model with the Trickster trait places a suspect marker within 4 inches of an enemy model. So there you go. And a little bit of deck cycling for both sides. And yeah, so there you go. Nice easy turn for Eyeball Man. And back to the Batman crew. Batman, sensing that he needed to act decisively before he was taken out altogether, decided to go for the throat, so to speak, and went for the Joker himself. He put himself into base contact, an easy move, as you can see, and laid about himself with his fists. And yes, he put 1 effort in because he only had innovating. He had innovating 2 already, so it reduced his effort limit down to the 1. Joker put full effort into defense, and altogether 2 of the hits got through, which leaves Joker on 7 points of stun damage. From that, he's only got 8 willpower, so Joker was 1 off of being being knocked out. And yes, there was things that could have stopped the Showtime card, but it wasn't enough. Joker's still conscious, only just. Yes, that innovating from Gaggy's gas just a little bit earlier was pivotal in that. If 1 more point of effort had been able to be put in, I reckon then is a good chance the Joker would have been out of action altogether, but it just was not to be. And yes, the Clown Prince of Crime remains standing upright. And yeah, so there you go. It also means that Showtime, the card here, has counted down to 0, which means, and those 2 suspect markers are both still there. Because any one of them is, then yeah, that scores the 3 victory points for the Joker, which is another hit for the Batman crew. But yeah, so there we go. Let's move on and see who's activating next. Okay, Gaggy went up next for the Joker's crew, the sidekick there. He had -6 movement, and so he just hopped along 2 inches. He didn't engage his gas jumper all this time because there's not many places he can use it to be safe, but he also just wanted to pile drive Bullock into the ground. So he activated, with his special, he used his Kapow ability to give him +1 to hit. Bullock is innovated 2, so he could only put 1 effort into it to block the incoming attack, so reduce the attack pool by 1. Gaggy put that die back in and then rolled, and it was only thanks to the +1 to hit he got many hits at all, really. Thank goodness luckily for him. And yes, Bullock's defense rolls were equally lackluster. 2 hits got through, including the strength die, which is caustic, so it always causes 1 point of blood damage, I believe, anyway. Doesn't matter, would have done anyway. And yes, 2 points of blood damage is enough to finish off Sergeant Bullock there. So poor old Harvey dies again. Another model that I keep getting killed early gets killed early. So yeah, I don't know, I'm just not good at this. He's not that tough at the end of the day, but yeah. Yes, he was poisoned though, and so seasoning the mix came out of the hand for the Joker's crew for 2 points. As an objective, it's a model with the poison effect is removed as a casualty, and a bit of deck cycling for both sides. Again, compulsory deck cycling. And yeah, so there you go. 2 more points in the bag for the Joker. It's not a bad score for them, but Batman crew's got plenty of ways to catch up. Okay, the Forces of Good activated Red Robin next, and boy did he have a turn. He had Audacity, if you recall, and he used that first of all to move into this little space here underneath the crane, and that he then used his special action to activate 360-degree attack with his what's it called, extended bow, I think, and yeah, he beat the living crap out of both the models there. First of all, well, he rolled pretty well for a start, and so the actual knocked out Whiteface model is actually dead now because of all the hits gain. Every hit does a blood damage as well as the usual stun on a knocked out model. So yeah, that takes Whiteface out of the running altogether. That puts him up to his maximum allowance of 6 endurance. So he's only got 5 endurance, sorry. It puts him over it, sorry. And the same attack on Gaggy there did 4 points of stun damage, which is more than enough to exceed the willpower value of the tiny clown, which takes him into the knocked out status as well. So pretty good. And just to further the carnage of this turn, Secure the Perimeter was played as a resource from the Batman crew's hand to help cycle the deck a bit. They removed one of the suspect markers that Joker magnetized towards himself, you know, at the beginning of the turn, and used that to perform a ranged attack. I think it represents like a police sniper or something for Moth off table, and or maybe in a circling helicopter, or just a roundabout. And yes, it does a shooting attack on that model. So if we take off, say, sorry about that, this suspect marker here, I rolled and one of the hits got through, and it did 1 point of blood and 1 point of stun on Joker, which is enough to knock him out, as we found out from before. So yeah, 3 models horribly mangled, maimed or KO'd in this one turn for the Batman crew side. So yes, the Joker crew rocking from that one, but no cards scored from the Batman crew at this point. So we'll see how things progress on in the scoring stakes. Okay, a tiny little bit of admin before I proceed to Ace of Spades' turn. When Red Robin attacked and actually managed to take Whiteface altogether out of action, I forgot that Whiteface himself was poisoned from previous turn, and that means that Joker can play Seasoning the Mix in Red Robin's turn to score it for 2 points, because a model with the poison effect is removed as a casualty. It doesn't say it has to be an enemy model or one of yours or anything. So yes, I did that as well. So yes, I've got to bear in mind that this Joker deck, you can score quite a few of your cards in your opponent's turn. You know, for example, a lot of them are triggered by the picking up of suspect markers, etc. And yeah, that represents, it can be for either side. So pay attention to those cards, kids, because it really does make a difference. Right, so moving on, Ace of Spades had a go and put down this suspect marker here, for which he turned into a set of Poison Teeth with the Bite the Dust card. As we've seen, it's a lot of text, but we've seen this many times before. These teeth will normally chatter around the board quite happily. He rolled a 2 for the timer on it, so 2 models activation's time, they will explode, and if anyone is caught in the damage radius, then that will score the 2 points. Funnily enough though, straight away afterwards, Ace of Spades also played as a resource from the hand, Let Them In on the Joke, to which if you see there, the text is very simple: reduce or increase the value number of a counter by 2. 1 or 2 even. So he used that to run the timer down to 0, and let's set it off straight away. What a Joker thing to do. And yes, so he, Joker and Batman all take 1 point of blood damage, which is interesting because for once the Joker crew can take the damage, but the Batman is he's down to 1 point of health left, really, when you get down to it. So 1 more point of blood damage and Batman is out for the count. So I'd say that's worth it. But most importantly of all, it scores those 2 victory points. Okay, let's continue on. I think there's only a couple of models left. Okay, you can just about make out the GCPD detective there under the shadow of the crane. It's bloody crane. I love the model, but sometimes too much action goes on around here. Yes, he had Audacity, and he was able to use it to move into base contact with Joker, which you can just about see there, and use his special action, unfortunately for all and sundry who want an entertaining game, to arrest the Joker. Gotta do it. You've got to do it if you can. And yes, that was a really useful thing, made even more useful by the planning of Get Them Off the Streets by the Batman crew for 3 victory points. Arrest a model, they just have. Nice. Having done that, he still had his tactical action left, and he used it to open fire on Eyeball Man here with his light pistol, and he got 1 hit because he got the penalty for moving and shooting, so can forgive him a slightly bad shooting roll. And yes, did the one hit, which is 1 point of blood, 1 point of stun on the henchman. So yes, the Batman crew starting to come into their own now. Okay, Killer Moth activated next. He took the last Audacity counter from the crew pool, shall we say, and used his first of all, he used his freebie radio given in manipulate action, because Gaggy is now the new boss, so he can still get inspired by this guy though, so that's fine. So yes, he used it to turn the suspect marker he was next to into valuable commodities. We've seen that many times. There's the 3 points. Killer Moth has to hold on to those for the rest of the game. Hopefully he will, for Joker's sake. For his own sake, if Joker gets disappointed in him from being in prison. Anyway, never mind. He then used his special action with his movement action to vault over here. He did have big delusions of grandeur of going and contesting the snitch marker, but this whole area of the board is getting a little bit too hero-y for Killer Moth's tastes, and yeah, he just decided with the valuable commodities he's just going to go over and face down the one cop instead. Having done that, he used his tactical action, which he had left to fire his cocoon gun at the policeman here. Only had one dice left after the penalty for moving and shooting, but it was enough. It rolled a 6 and therefore hit, and 1 point of stun. It's a weak gun, but most importantly it does 6 movement penalty, so the next time the policeman moves he'll be at -6 movement, so that's a pretty useful little thing there. Okay, it's just this policeman's go now to go for the rest of the turn, and we'll see how he does. And yeah, here we are. It wasn't an awful lot for this guy to do. He was inspired by Batman by dint of having a radio, but with the movement penalty, even when he moved away a little bit, he was too close to the existing suspect marker to ever have been able to put down another suspect marker this turn, so he just had to console himself with moving along a little bit towards Killer Moth. He was not even quite close enough to be able to use his extendable baton either, so yeah, unfortunately nothing interesting, although he didn't have audacity, he couldn't have hit him anyway, but it's done nonetheless. He did manage to play wait for backup as an objective card from the hand, so that's useful. That's why there's a little 2 there. Oh, sorry, light reflection's awful. 2 there, sorry. For 2 victory points, when this countdown reaches 0, if this cop is still within, he's still at this board edge, within 4 inches of this board edge, then he'll score that for 2 points. And he only rolled a 1, so d6 plus 1 equals 2. Two more models worth of activation, so it will count down relatively quickly. Right, I do believe that concludes this turn's activations, so we'll move to the recount phase and yeah, take some stock. Okay, phase 4 complete. In terms of cards scored, the snitch marker definitely scores there. There's no clowns anywhere nearby, so that's a lovely 3 more points for the forces of law and order. Also coming from the Batman Crew's deck, stick to the plan because they have way more suspect markers in play than the Joker Crew now, so 2 more points. So 5 points scored for the Batman Crew there. It's not bad for them. None yet for the Joker Crew for the time, but they've been scoring a fair drip of cards throughout the course of the turn anyway, so yeah, but you can't deny that was a brutal turn for the Joker Crew. They lost their leader, their free agent, and one of their henchmen, and all the Batman Crew lost was Harvey Bullock, who was already quite damaged, but Batman himself edges ever closer to the grave. He's down to 1 point of endurance left, so yeah, we'll see how things pan out though. Still plenty of cards to score for both sides. Right, let's move on to the into the third turn, sorry, not the last turn. Oh, one more thing is, Gaggy did manage to recover from being KO'd, so yeah, that's him up, so at least he's awoken from unconsciousness to find himself the boss. Right, now let's move on to the next turn. Okay, another decisive turn in the making, I feel. In the first phase, Take the Lead, we saw a lot of cards played by the Joker Crew, which I'll go through one at a time now. First of all, they played Die Hard, which is a generic card for 2 points, and they chose Killer Moth to be their recipient of it. So if Killer Moth is still not KO'd and not removed as a casualty by the end of the turn, they'll score 2 points. So yes, that's a turn 1 there. Also played in this phase is Let's Dance. Boy, they could have had this one done with this one last turn, for 2 victory points. It basically played now, it scores at the end if any model with a leader, psychic or free agent is damaged by an enemy attack action this round. So it'll be down to Gaggy, but it does mean that if they do attack Gaggy to knock him out again, for example, that will score 2 points for the Joker Crew. So yeah, that's really useful, because leaving him unmolested is kind of dangerous too in its own way. And finally, the Moth Signal card came out for Killer Moth. All these cards played in the first phase and scored at the end. Basically, choose a scenery element that is within 4 inches of a friendly model and at least 8 inches outside of the Joker Crew's deployment zone. The Joker Crew has to have at least 1 friendly model and 1 friendly suspect within 4 inches of that scenery element, and that'll be at the end of the turn. And they've chosen the distribution warehouse, which more than qualifies as Killer Moth is nearby, and rather difficult to get at by any model that can do real damage. So yes, yeah. So that's quite a substantial 7 victory points on the table there, just come out in the first phase for the Joker Crew. Kind of unusual that. Usually these cards come out a bit at a time, but sometimes you'll draw them all at the same time. Moving on in terms of who got the initiative, as you can see it was a 5-all draw this time, and in that case, if there's no pass markers hanging around, which there weren't, then the team that didn't have the initiative last time gets it this time. So Joker Crew will be going first now, interestingly enough. And for Audacity counters, the Joker's no longer leading the Joker Crew, so he doesn't get the Chaos Agent rule, so they have to now start handing out Audacity markers normally. Doesn't really matter because there's only 4 models on the board anyway. So Killer Moth, Ace of Spades, Gaggy there, and Eyeball Man at the back, they've all got Audacity counters. For the Batman crew, still had a bit of decision making to do. So Batman, Red Robin, Lorida, and Agent 3 here has got Audacity because he wants to interfere with all these victory cards which are just being, all these objective cards which are just being played in some way, and he needs Audacity really to do that. Okay, right, let's carry on and get on with turn 3's activations. And I have to be honest, there was one thing I forgot to do from the recount phase last turn, which before I started activating I did feel that I should do because it's only fair. I forgot to make Batman's poison roll. Now Batman still is holding poison 1 from earlier in the turn, and so that means he has to take an endurance test. His endurance is 8 on 3 dice, picking the 2 dice he likes the most. Okay, so there he is, and then here's the dice roll he got. So picking out one of the 6s because he wants to roll low, he wants to get equal to or less than his endurance. He still failed his endurance roll, which means he takes 1 more point of endurance damage, which is sadly enough to pick him up off the board. So after all was said and done, he is dead. That's a tragedy. Not expected, but yeah, both teams losing their leaders in such short order. That means Red Robin will become the new boss. I will redistribute this Audacity counter over to the GCPD Detective as the only other model that can take it, I believe. And yes, now we'll carry on with the turn, okay? I don't believe it would have affected the playing of any of the objective cards or anything like that. It's just a bit of a hammer blow for the Batman crew, but one I really did need to do and be honest about. It was an honest mistake to forget, but so I thought I'd get it in there before the turn continued. So there we are. Now let's carry on. Well, taking advantage of the fact that his crew has the initiative this turn, Killer Moth activated, and first of all he had Audacity, so he put out the punishment. He fired his cocoon gun using the solid rounds at the police officer here, and did 4 hits out of 4, and oh, I forgot, he also rolled a 6 on the old critical hit die. Strength die, to knock down the police officer. So police officer is currently webbed from last turn, so -6 movement, and also knocked down. So it's really not been his couple of turns, has it really? 4 points of blood, 4 points of stun. That's he's 1 off of each to either go unconscious or off the board altogether. So pretty badass round of fire from the brightly coloured henchman here. So then Killer Moth decided he'd move around the corner, out of sight, out of mind, since he's covering so many victory points at this point, and he even put down a suspect marker because he has a radio, so he's still inspired by Gaggy all the way over there. And so when he did so, as you can see, it's a stinky poison fish again with It Doesn't Look Fresh for 2 victory points, and there's not a huge amount the Batman crew can do to stop them as far as I can see, but yeah, we'll find out, won't we? Okay, that concludes Killer Moth's turn, and we'll carry on now with a bit of Batman crew action. Okay, after the disastrous start to their turn with Batman getting poisoned to death and all, the Batman crew started to wonder if its luck's run out altogether. The GCPD Detective activated. He was back here with Audacity, but what he decided to do, it was so tempting to walk up to Gaggy at the back there, knock him out and arrest him, just to take him off the board, even if there were no cards to score from it, because it would have been another really useful thing to do at this stage of the game. But no, he kind of cowed by this gun that the Eyeball Man's toting, and so really wanted to do something with him. And if he'd got a good round of shooting, he could actually have taken Eyeball Man out altogether, but it was not to be. So first of all, he turned around and shot at Eyeball Man, and let me just show you this dice roll he got. Not the greatest. The white die is the strength die, which, because due to the firearm rule, did need a 2 or more to hit. So there's your 1 point of blood and stun damage, which is packing on the eyeball man, unfortunately for the detective. So that was his last round of ammunition as well. For that was good, wasn't it? What he did next was to move into base contact with eyeball man with his movement, and with his radio, with his Inspire based. What's it called? With his Inspire-based manipulation, he was able to pick up the suspect marker that the eyeball man put down in the last turn in order to be able to play Comb Through Everything. There we are, for 2 points for the Batman crew. Reveal enemy suspect marker and let them cycle the deck a touch for their benefit. Unfortunately though, nothing is free in this game, as it turns out, if you're playing against Joker, because So Long It's Been a Gas came out again from the Joker crew's hand. So yeah, there's all the text. We saw it before. Basically, when the enemy model revealed, when the GCPD detective revealed that suspect marker, the Joker were able to score this one as well. So it nullifies out the points nicely, and also puts the suspect marker in contact with the GCP detective and gives him that innovating 2 there as well into the bargain. So yes, not a great turn for the Batman crew when they really need to be scoring as much as possible. Joker continues to be able to score cards with impunity, but yes, the balance of models is still in the favour of the GCPD crew. But yeah, back to the Joker to see who he wants to activate. Not wanting to waste any more time at all, Gaggy activated for the Joker's crew, and he stood up. He activated his pogo stick to jump into the middle of that little scrum over here. This is a better angle, I think. And yes, the resulting gas did 2 points of enervating to everyone around, and 1 point of poison. So there's Red Robin on enervating 2, Eyeball Man on enervating 2 and a poison, and yes. GCPD detective up to innovating 3 now, which is the maximum, and poison 1 for his trouble. So yeah, having done that, it allowed him to play I'm Feeling Weird, because he's poisoned a bunch of people, inflicting an effect on an enemy model, and that's 2 points. So 2 points in the bag for Joker just for doing that. And then he still had his tactical action left, and he attacked GCPD detective, who couldn't put any effort in to defend himself because he's innovated 3, which suited Gaggy, who has no effort limit himself, being so badly damaged and only just having got up from unconsciousness. Right, so but at the end of the day, Gaggy got 4 hits through and a 6 on the strength die, which will knock down the police officer, and the GCPD detective failed every single one of his defense rolls too, so 4 points of blood damage gets through, to show you there, on the GCPD detective. He's 1 away from being deaded, shall we say. So yeah, not a great turn there for the GCPD. In other news, forgot to mention earlier, the wait for backup managed to tick down to 0 from that little dice over there, and yeah, so there's 2 points scored for the for the Batman crew, because that police officer, despite being webbed thoroughly and very knocked down, he's still alive, and therefore that scores for the Batman crew. So little nuggets of good news. Okay, let's move on. It's the Batman crew's turn. Well, proper heroics for the quick thinking heroics from Tim Drake, aka Red Robin, aka the best Robin. No, he activated over from here, next to where his audacity counter was, because I've forgotten left it in. Right, so first of all, he moved up to this sewer grating here and used a manipulate action because he had audacity, of course, to get through it down to here. He is a detective, so when he used a resource, They Won't See Me Coming, one of your models with the leader, psychic or free agent rank may perform a manipulate action during its activation without spending an action. Basically gives him a freebie activation, manipulation, sorry, and that he used to pick up the stinky fish. He raises his poison level to 2 for his troubles, so he'll have to deal with that, but nonetheless, it not only does it will stop the stinky fish from scoring at the end of the turn, but also it puts the Moth signal card in jeopardy, because Killer Moth needs a suspect marker nearby this piece of scenery in order to score it. So yes, having done so, he also, into the bargain, played Comb Through Everything as an objective card. For 2 victory points. We've seen that one just now. Reveal enemy suspect, and gets to cycle the deck a bit. So 2 points there. But just to keep hammering the point home that you're playing the Joker, and nothing is straightforward with the Joker. So Long It's Been a Gas came out again for the Joker crew for 2 victory points as a reaction to them picking up that stinky fish. So yes, 2 victory points. Right, so yeah, the law crew needs to pick one of their models to put down a suspect mark, and I think the only one who can actually legally do that is Robin. So not only is he going to have to put down a suspect marker, he's also going to go up to Innovating 3 for his troubles. And the 2 victory points he just scored are completely nullified out by the Joker crew scoring that one, and this is going crazy, this game. I love it. Well, there's one thing that can be said for Stan the Eyeball Man, is that he knows how to copy a good idea. And so, having witnessed Robin jump down the sewer marker over here, he decided he'd have some of that too. He started under the shadow just next to Gaggy, if you recall. He was inspired by Gaggy's presence, which gave him the when he used his audacity to move and then manipulate the sewer marker, he had another manipulate action when he came out the other end in order to put down the stinky fish. And yes, as you can see, it's a suspect marker which was turned into a stinky fish, but it doesn't look fresh. Just when you think the Joker crew's running out of stinky poisoned fish, they go and find a whole bunch more down their trousers. It's amazing. No one knows how they do it. But yes, another poisoned fish token out on the board, another suspect marker out on the board, and yeah, that's all they can do, really. I mean, that's the best thing they can do. It's all getting them those points, and they have been cycling through their deck and scoring willy-nilly today. Okay, SWAT Officer Larido activated last for the Batman crew, and so he hopped up on top of this piece of scenery here, and he had audacity, if you recall, so he opened fire on Ace of Spades, who's been pretty much just down here for the most of the game, and yes, many hits got through to him, and did 6 points of blood damage, which is enough to take Ace of Spades out of the game altogether, just out of spite, I think. Yeah, but pretty brutal that, just as a thing. That was the last round of ammunition for Larido there. As you can see, he put down a suspect marker which he turned into a snitch, a third snitch I think that is for this game, if my memory serves. So 3 points, and there's literally nothing the Joker crew can do about it, because that concludes this round's activations. Yep, that does. The Ace of Spades would have been the last model to go, but he is dead. So, okay, right. So let's move to the recount phase and do some tidying up. Okay, a fair bit to recount, to say the least. I'll start with the poison rolls because I just did them. Red Robin unfortunately succumbed to poison, so he takes 1 point of blood damage. Eyeball Man likewise takes 1 point of blood damage to put him on 3 so far. GCPD Detective had the toughest call of all, because if he failed his endurance roll, he'd have died. But he managed to, on a surprising roll of 4, managed to survive the poison, and he's still on the board, just tucked in there, as you can see. So yes, I thought he might be going, but no, he's staying for the last turn, unless he dies during it, of course. In terms of scored cards, well, it's easy to solve that didn't score. Gaggy did not get damaged during the course of that turn, so Let's Dance does not score for the Joker crew. It's about the only one though, because Die Hard, now let's get these cards in hand, sorry. Yes, so Die Hard scored for them because Killer Moth is still on the board. It doesn't look fresh scored for them because the poison fish is still on the board, and Moth Signal scored for them because yes, Killer Moth and Eyeball Man and the fish are all within 4 inches of this distribution house. So a lovely 7 points scored for the Joker crew there. That's pretty damn good, if you ask me. Hang on, sorry, just doing some reaching around. Sorry, yeah. Let's ignore that. Right, don't read anything into that. Right, on the law side, Batman, the snitch marker scores for 3 points, as you can see. Stick to the plan scores because there are more Batman suspect markers and Joker ones in play. I guess that's a occupational hazard when you keep exploding your own suspect markers, so well. And secure the perimeter also is scored for the Batman crew. In the start, it's remove 2 friendly suspect markers within 2 inches of the board edge for 2 points. They do that now. We'll have this one and this one. It's almost like they were set up there from the beginning of the game, and that bloody card just kept disappearing out the hand. Every time Joker forced a discard, it was one of those cards that went. So yeah, that was really quite frustrating because they had these suspect markers set up to take off, and the card just never was in the hand at the end of the turn. But yes, that's 7 victory points also for the Batman crew, which is pretty bonus, isn't it? Okay, it's going to go into the last turn now. There are only actually 5 cards left in the Joker crew's deck altogether that haven't been scored, as far as I'm aware, apart from valuable commodities, which Killer Moth's holding. Yeah, 4 in the hand and the one that they need to draw if they want. So there you go. We'll see how it goes. But yes, the Batman deck is looking pretty slim as well. There's lots of scorecards there. So let's go to turn 4 and see who can pick up those last few points. Right, so the last turn, and I've completed the first 2 phases. In the very first phase, Take the Lead, Let's Dance came out of the hand once again for the Joker crew. It's the last card that they've got to draw, so it was always going to turn up, really. And so, yes, again, it's down to just Gaggy, really. If Gaggy gets attacked and damaged during the course of the turn, they get 2 points. If not, then Gaggy's got a turn to do what he wants, so win-win really. No cards played by the Batman crew at this stage. In terms of who got the initiative, unfortunately for Batman, it's the Joker to have the initiative for this last turn. That could be crucial. And yes, in terms of who gets Audacity, every model left on the board has Audacity, so everyone is going to get a nice full suite of actions. So yeah, we'll see how this pans out, and I'll just see who can score what. Killer Moth activating first once again. He just can't stop stealing the limelight. And yes, he was back here behind the distribution warehouse. He activated with Audacity, and he had his radio still, so he was inspired by Gaggy to put down this suspect marker. And when he did so, he played Let Them In on the Joke again from the Joker's hand. Just put down a suspect marker within 4 inches of an enemy model. Yeah, he still does have the Trickster trait. I actually looked it up specifically. The Joker doesn't stop granting that to his crew once he's taken off the board or no longer the boss. It's there for the duration of the game. It's quite clear on that. So there's me. So 2 points for the Joker crew. He then opened fire with his cocoon gun on Robin, using his last round of ammunition for his like sticky shots or whatever he calls them, and got 1 hit with the strength die, which was sufficient. Oh, not the blood damage, sorry. Sufficient to do 1 point of stun damage, but crucially -6 movement for this last turn on the ex-Boy Wonder, the Red Boy Wonder. I don't know what his nickname is, but yes, he's there, and he's been hobbled a little bit after their last turn's heroics, but nonetheless, he's still got to go. And yes, and then finally he used his special and his movement actions together to grapple gun away over here, out of sight of just about everyone really. So he's pretty much secured his victory points for the game with his valuable commodities, etc. So yes, let's move on to the Batman crew. The Rider activated next for the Batman crew, and he jumped down and ran across to Gaggy and attacked him in unarmed combat. Incidentally, the Rider's out of ammunition anyway, so that's that. He put in 3 points of effort. Gaggy didn't put any effort in himself, and nonetheless, that was enough to knock out the clown once again. He took 2 points of damage after all was said and done, and yes, that's knocked him out. That does score back to Arkham from the Batman crew's hand for 3 points. Make the opponent's boss KO or remove it as a casualty. Gaggy is standing in for Joker in Joker's absence, shall we say. And yeah, so that means that those 3 points go to the forces of good. Okay, let's carry on. Okay, Stan the Eyeball Man activated, last model for the Joker this game, and he had Audacity, so he just moved across to here, put down another suspect marker, allowing him to score the last Let Them In on the Joke from the Joker crew's hand. Yeah, so 2 points, he's done it, and it's some cycling for both sides, but there's really nothing left to cycle for the Joker crew. They have scored just about every card in their goddamn objective deck. He could have shot, obviously, yeah, I mean, he could have shot and probably blown someone away, but it's all about points, and this is the last turn, so let's just finish things up and see what the Batman crew's got left in its stock. Okay, don't know if you can see in there, the GCPD detective activated next. He moved up to Gaggy's unconscious form and arrested him to play Get Them Off the Streets for 3 victory points. Nice and simple. And just to wrap up the last action of the turn, I'll just have to walk you back around the other side, because I've completed the turn's moves now, and just another suspect marker was put down over here. And yes, that's it. Robin really had nothing left to do. He's suffering that -6 movement, just really stopped him. If he'd had a full movement, he could have chased after Killer Moth, or more likely he'd have gone and revealed that suspect marker for a couple more victory points, but it just wasn't to be. Okay, let's move to the end phase and see who's got any last phase scores to do. Right, recount phase all finished. In the last phase, the Batman crew played Secure the Perimeter for 2 victory points by removing 2 of their friendly suspect markers within 2 inches of the board edge. They've got these 2 down here. Sorry for the light reflection, guys. It's odd at this time of day, but yes, there you go. 2 victory points for them. And not to be outdone, Let's Dance has definitely scored for the Joker crew, because Gaggy got a beating in this round, but the Forces of Law and Order got 6 victory points from it combined, so I think they'll be relatively happy with that. And of course, Killer Moth is still on the board with his valuable commodities, so I'll pop them in the deck in the score pile now for 3 victory points. Okay, well, that concludes a pretty epic game. I said that I kept saying that the Joker crew was running out of cards. I've only got 2 cards they didn't score in the entire deck, but the Batman crew has only got a handful left as well. So not many between them, I'm sure, because the Batman crew actually, the Batman crew's deck can score higher in potential than the Joker crew can anyway. So even though there might be less cards in the score pile, the score may still be higher. So let's go find out with the final count, shall we? Okay, I've got 2 fairly sizable looking score piles in my hand, and let's get counting then, shall we? So the Batman crew first is the one turns out I've picked up. So got 3, 5, 8, 10, 13, 15, 18, 20, 22, 24, 26, 28, 31, 34, 37, 39 points. That's pretty big. 39 points. That's a big one. That's nothing to be ashamed about. That would really decimate many other crews on other days. But let's see if this Joker pile can match up to it, shall we? So 2, 4, 5, 7, 9, 12, 14, 16, 18, 20, 22, 24, 26, 29, 31, 33, 35, 37, 39, 42 with the valuable commodities. The meaning of life, the universe and everything for Joker. So Joker wins by 42 points to the Batman crew's 39. Blimey, this game is always so close, it seems. I mean, when one crew seems to score low, the other one does. Maybe, I don't know. I've only really had one big difference in points. Usually, I think, according to my memory, and over the course of my games, this game is so well balanced. I mean, considering how thematic it is, and therefore how easy it would be for it to be really, unbalanced. But I massively enjoyed that one. That Joker deck, once it gets going, once it clicks in your brain and you realise, oh, I can score half my cards in my opponent's turn, you can really start ratcheting up the scores, especially when this Batman crew deck sort of triggers a lot of the things that the Joker crew scores with, such as revealing suspects and things like that. It's a great little combination, these two. I can see now why they were both in the starter set. More decks to come, I hear, soon. That'll be great. Penguin, Colts, better. Maybe, I don't know. Organised crime, I can finally start using the proper versions of my rules rather than the ones I made up, which are inevitably going to be inferior. Anyway, never mind. I hope you enjoyed this game. I really did. I think that was a bit of a good showcase for Killer Moth, if you ask me. He man of the match, maybe he's just earned his pay just about with Joker. Joker's been arrested, of course. Batman's got to go take some vaccines, I'm sure, and Joker will be escaping soon. I don't know about Gaggy. No one cares really about Gaggy. That's why Gaggy's so angry all the time. Right, I hope you enjoyed this as much as I did, honestly. The feedback you give me is really important to me as well. Thank you so much for the constant positive reinforcement. If anyone can see anything that I can improve or any mistakes I made, that's equally valid as well. I'd like to be told. And yeah, I hope you'll join me for future games. Please do check out my channel in the future. Hit that subscribe button. You know, sacrifice likes to the gods of YouTube, because apparently it likes them. Okay, well, I'm Shieldwall100 and I'll see you next time. Goodbye.